Okay, so get ready, because today we're going deep, really deep into the heart of a West African kingdom.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
Yeah, and you know what's really fascinating is we're using these excerpts, right, from pasted text, and these kingdoms, they don't always get the spotlight they deserve.
Right, totally.
In the big grand story of history. But their stories, oh man, they're packed with all this intrigue, power struggles, and these really unique cultural practices.
Absolutely. It's like you're uncovering this like hidden chapter of history,
Right.
full of these vibrant details that are just waiting for someone to find them.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's set the stage first.
Okay.
Where in West Africa was this kingdom? And roughly when are we talking about? Like what time period?
Okay, so picture this, West Africa, right? It's this region that's just bursting with life,
Yeah.
all sorts of diversity.
Right.
You've got like the Sahel with its bustling markets, and then you've got the coast with these dense rainforests, right? And our mysterious kingdom, it existed somewhere within that vast landscape. Although the source material, it's a little vague on the exact time frame.
Ah, so it's like a real history mystery.
A little bit, yeah.
Love it. It makes you think, though, how did this kingdom even come to be?
Yeah.
I mean, were they warriors who just, like, carved out their territory? Or were they more like these clever diplomats making alliances?
Yeah.
Or maybe they were just a small settlement that kept growing over time.
Right.
Any hints in those excerpts about, like, legendary figures or epic battles for power?
You'd think there'd be at least a founding myth or something, right? Like a tale of some great king.
Yeah, totally.
But the excerpts, they're totally silent on those details, which is kind of a bummer, but, we can look to other West African kingdoms from around the same time, right?
Okay.
To get some clues. Like a lot of them, they rose to power through this combination of military strength and like strategic alliances.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because remember, this was a time when power dynamics were constantly shifting.
Yeah.
And whoever controlled these valuable resources, things like gold and salt,
Right.
they often ended up in conflict and expanding their territory,
Totally.
So maybe our kingdom, it was born from a similar struggle, or maybe they found a way to thrive through trade.
Oh.
And they became this crucial hub for all the goods that were flowing across the region.
So they, like, control the trade route.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a real power move.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, speaking of power, what about how this kingdom was run? I mean, did they have a king? A council of elders? Or was this something totally different?
It's like we've got this amazing puzzle,
Yeah.
but we're missing some of the key pieces,
Okay.
Because the excerpts, they don't really give us the specifics of how their government was structured, but we can make some educated guesses, right?
Okay.
Think about those powerful empires of West Africa, like Ghana, Mali, Songhai. A lot of them had these like sophisticated hierarchical systems
Okay.
with a ruler at the top and
Yeah.
then this whole network of officials, nobles, and religious leaders who supported them.
Right.
So it's very possible our kingdom had a similar setup,
That makes sense.
but, adapted to their own circumstances and the challenges they face.
Right. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's so cool to think about, like, how their society actually worked, right?
Absolutely.
But obviously, you can't run a kingdom on politics alone. So what was fueling their economy? Were they mostly farmers, or did they have other, like, tricks up their sleeve?
Okay, so imagine this.
Yeah.
You walk into a marketplace, right?
Okay.
It's bustling with all these merchants from, like, all over the region.
Oh, wow.
They're selling all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Colorful textiles, gleaming metalwork, aromatic spices, and of course, you've got the ever-precious salt and gold.
Of course.
Now, West African kingdoms, they were deeply interconnected through trade, right? And our kingdom was probably no different.
Okay.
It's likely they specialized in a particular craft or resource. Maybe they even controlled a really important part of a major trade route.
Ooh, that would be smart.
Right, which would let them levy taxes and build up their wealth.
Right.
So picture these camel caravans loaded with goods, crossing the Sahara Desert, connecting our kingdom to North Africa and the Mediterranean world beyond.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
So they were part of this, like, huge network of trade and cultural exchange.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, what made their culture unique? Did they have, like, a specific art style or fascinating religious practices, any rituals that really set them apart?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, our sources, they don't really give us those specific details.
Oh.
But think about it this way. Every society, they developed their own ways of expressing themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So they must have had their own stories, songs, dances, and beliefs that reflected their worldview and how they connected with the world around them. Like, did they worship a specific deity?
Ooh, good question.
Did they have elaborate ceremonies to celebrate the seasons changing or to honor their ancestors?
Right.
It's really intriguing to imagine all those details of their daily lives.
Yeah, totally. It's like so easy to get caught up in thinking about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about their rise to power, their government, their economy, and their culture.
Yeah.
But like all good things, it had to end eventually, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
So what led to the decline or transformation of this kingdom?
And here's the thing. The excerpts don't really give us a clear answer on that.
Ugh, that's frustrating.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like the last few pages of a book got ripped out.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens.
But we can, like, use our knowledge of history and make some educated guesses.
Okay,
Right. Based on the historical patterns we see with other West African kingdoms.
gotcha.
So things like internal power struggles, rival kingdoms trying to take over, changes in trade routes, or even environmental factors, those could have all played a role. It's true.
Like maybe they were absorbed into a larger empire,
Okay.
or maybe their influence just gradually faded over time.
Right. Right.
The mystery just makes it even more interesting, you know?
Totally. It does.
Well,
It
so
really
no.
does. So, even though we're missing some pieces of the puzzle, what are some of the key takeaways about this kingdom? And why should our listeners even care about a kingdom they've probably never even heard of?
I think it's a really good example of how history is often told from a limited perspective, you know?
Yeah.
Like this kingdom, even though its name has been lost to time,
Yeah.
it's